All right, we're back. Another edition of The Climb. We got Christian back on. He's joining us after a successful season as his first year as head coach. Thanks for coming on, Christian.
Thanks for having me again, man. I know we were trying to do this mid-season, but things were a little hectic, so pumped to be back.
Yeah, it's funny. We talked about routine before you
Yeah,
came on. I think it was right before season. And then
yeah,
it seemed like your routine flipped on its head once
yeah,
the season started. You had to go a completely different route to kind of keep things going.
yeah. Totally true. I think like it. It is really weird being a college coach because you have a portion of the year where your life is fairly normal, and then you have a portion of the year where like your life is coaching. And I think something you and I were talking about earlier was balance and like how do you find balance in like in the chaos of being a college coach. And like I was really thinking about it like in preparation for this talk, and I think like honestly like I don't know if I do find balance in season, like,
Mhm.
and I think that's okay. Like I'm okay with that. Like I know that I'm here to win, I'm here to take care of the team, and we've got a lot of stuff to prepare for, and I can find balance in the other 8 months of the year. um and so I was really thinking about it. I'm like, I really don't think I do find balance. And I've actually listened to like a bunch of high level athletes talk
Mhm.
about that, and they're like, yeah, I don't really have balance when I'm in a training season either.
Mhm.
um and so I think I'm learning to accept that.
Yeah, it's almost like being balanced is being the thick of it, just
Yeah,
constantly on the go. And if you were to probably stop, it probably wouldn't be as easy to keep going and pick up where you left off.
exactly. And I think there's a million things to get done. And I will say though, like, it took me a bit this season, but I did find a way to calm my mind, like on an off day. Like
Nice.
usually our off day was Sunday, and I did find out like halfway through the season how to calm that.
Mm.
Um, but but there was also the first half of the season that was like lack of sleep, overthinking everything, and I think you just have to get to a point where you say like enough is enough. Like I need me time, and my fiance needs me when I'm home as well, and I think you have to be able to separate at least a little bit. Yeah,
It sounds like, and I just know from talking with you, you had a lot of self recognition throughout the whole season of like, hey, I have to focus on this. And even like when you had a time to breathe, you would take it. Where most people, even if it's like a 9 to 5 job, like it's a run and gun type of environment for most. Even some have
right.
kids, busy work life balance. But
Yeah,
if you're not like stepping back one little bit, it can just pile on top of each other. So it's good self recognition you had to be like, all right, seems like Sundays are it. I'm going to get at least 4 hours of me time or whatever it was for you. But that's pretty big, it sounds like.
yeah, and I think like there's a lot of power in like being comfortable saying no to things as
Mm,
well, and like setting boundaries. Like I know I'm really busy with season, so I'm not going to be able to go meet up with somebody for dinner midweek or
mhm.
something like that. And I think like being okay with that is really important, when you're in such a busy time. And as you know, we were buying a house on top of that and moving in, and so definitely like very um, chaotic, but like I wouldn't have changed anything. Like I love the chaos of being in season,
Sure.
um, and I think although like my mind is racing a lot, like it's almost good for me in a
Mm,
way because it forces my like ADHD brain to like just be on go mode.
mhm.
Whereas I think when I'm out of season, sometimes that procrastination brain can kind of come in.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
yeah,
funny you say that, the ADHD part, because I mean, for people who don't really know fully about it, it's like imagine if you're at a four-way intersection and none of the lights worked. And so
yeah,
for someone with ADHD, they're having all cars trying to go through the intersection at once. When, someone has, a pretty well-functioning prefrontal cortex that doesn't have ADHD, they can have one car go, then the other, then this, and focus at one thing at a time. So I just know from, doing with my own, it's about finding, like you said, that balance of this learned behavior of balancing multiple things at once. And it's like scratching an itch that's there, but you've
Yep.
done it your entire life where you found, a comfortableness with it. So that's really interesting you say that.
Yeah, I think what's kind of worked for me is just like knowing like when something comes to my mind, I'm just gonna get it done.
Mm,
Because like chances are 30 seconds from now, my mind's gonna jump to something else, and
mm.
it can be a little bit hard to focus. So I'm just like, comes to my mind, get it done. Get it on the schedule while I'm thinking of it, pay that bill while I'm thinking of it. Like I think that has really, really helped me instead of just like constantly pushing things off, which I think that was me as a teenager.
A byproduct of that too would be anxiety of pushing things off. Like, oh, I
Yeah,
still got to pay that bill, still have to get that going. So if you're not necessarily dealing with ADHD, where things are coming on your plate and you don't know what to do with first, there's an aspect that a lot of people deal with. Like, God, I'm putting this off. It's getting on me. I got to do all this paperwork. So that's a good practice in general. Just kind of keeping it one lane in your brain, one thing at a time. If it comes up, let's knock it out.
yeah, yeah. Or at least just like throw a note in your phone, like, hey, like put it
Mm.
on the checklist. Ree and I were just talking about putting up like a whiteboard somewhere in the house of just like things to do when bills need to be paid, like all that kind of stuff, just so we can be on the same page. And she has some of the same struggles I do with ADHD, and so a couple with ADHD can be quite entertaining, I would say sometimes.
Just need to be bowling with bumpers. That's all. Keep it going the
Exactly.
right way.
Exactly. Man, the amount
That's
of conversations like we have had where one of us just like mid sentence stops talking and like totally forgets what we were talking about. Yeah, it's fun.
just before everyone came over yesterday. Christina was looking at me, and I was staring out to our yard. And she goes, "What are you thinking about?" I was like, "You wouldn't even be able to follow to know what I'm thinking about," because I started at looking at the grass, then I'm over here, 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 and then I'm
Right,
like 10 steps away from a story that I can't explain to you. So it's
right,
best that we just, let me run my thinking. She's like, "I can tell something's on your mind." I was like, "No, this is like me just being calm and just letting things
right,
go."
right. And
So,
and sometimes I can't even explain how I got to where I was. So
no,
yeah,
sometimes it's better not to. It's like, hey,
I know.
I don't know how I got here, but I did. So here's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
It's funny when you live with, someone like a spouse, fiance, or girlfriend. They like understand your quirks, and Christina is so patient with me. Where it's like, all right, here we go. What do you got for me, AJ? Let me
yeah,
try to understand, and like I unravel this thought that's really so miniature, but like so much behind it. And it's good to work with someone like you were saying to make sure the bumpers are up and
yeah,
find strength in kind of some of our weaknesses. So
yeah, yeah. It's kind of similar analogy, but I kind of have an analogy in coaching. Um, where like so cattle ranchers, um, a lot of times what they'll do instead of forcing cattle to go down a certain way, they'll
mm,
just kind of walk back and forth on a horse and just let them like play in that area.
mm,
If they go out of that area, they'll chase them down and put them back in the area,
mm,
but they're going to allow them to kind of go down the chute when they want to.
mm,
And I think it's kind of similar of like I know my brain is going to go here or there,
mm.
um, but as long as I stay in this area, like we're
Yeah,
okay.
the
Yeah,
healthy boundary. Yeah, I'm sure if you were to tell that story to Christina, she's gonna love to treat me like a cattle. Just kind of let me free roam within my
yeah,
own boundaries. That's funny. I want to take it back though, Christian, because I kind of think that life is a lot of balance, but
yeah,
within that is like sprint intervals. That it's
hmm,
very few and far between, even if you have a 9 to 5 job and it's pretty ordinary scheduling. It's very few and far between where you can just take a jog, through and make a marathon of life.
Right.
I always find it to be that maybe either it's 4 months of on season, 2 months of off season for you, and then another 6 months of recruiting. It's always seems to be that it's a sprint interval in life. However
Yeah.
long that duration is, for some, you could have someone just being sprinting during work hours and then finding an hour after work. So how do you within that Sunday or that hour, I mean, what are you doing to reset? Because it seems like it's very important for your longevity to continue to sprint in that balance that you have with in season and off season being a D1 coach.
Yeah, it's a long season, and it can be like it can be an emotional season too.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like really important, one, to have good community around you,
Mm,
and support. But I think on top of that, like, having routine is really important too. So like I'd make sure I get up and I was excited every day. I think that's really important. Get up, be excited about something. Um, and and I think like in previous years, like I would just be all season. But like this year, I still worked out 2-3 times a week.
mm,
And next year, I'll probably work out 4 times a week because it'll be season 2 at Lafayette, and things will be a little bit easier for me.
yep.
Um, and so I think like, one, giving yourself a little bit of grace, like knowing, all right, this is my first season here. I really got to dig deep in these first few months. Things might go bad, but that's okay.
Mhm.
As long as you can kind of be resilient, identify your failures and recover from those failures and learn from them, like, it's fine. Um, but I think moving forward, like, you want to evaluate and see what things you can improve on. So like I literally made like a 4-page like evaluation of our season and everything I wanted to change, and that included a lot of personal things too.
Yep.
About like how, if I'm taking care of myself, like, the team's only going to be happier because I'm going to come in mentally fresh and ready to go and excited to be around them, and so yeah, I think it's I think there is some balance in there, but I think going kind of back to your question of like what on and off day really helps. Like just checking out. Like, if I can put my focus into something else that takes my mind off of work, like, that's kind of what I have to do. And
Mhm.
um, I've found like adrenaline type things are really really healthy for me. As you know, I've taken up skiing. Like that,
Mhm.
I can't really do that in the fall, but now that I'm transitioning into ski season, like, it's going to be my life is going to be very healthy because I'm going to have
Yeah.
that. And like on a Sunday, like, honestly, just watching like the Eagles play, like, that's great. Like, it's really weird watching another sport, knowing I don't have to coach, or like the bad things don't fall on my shoulders, is
Yeah.
it's very calming to me.
Because the preparation that goes into just one sporting event and how much work it is on, off season, in
Oh
season,
yeah.
practice, film session, one-on-one coaching, traveling with the team, how much really goes into one game day. So
Oh,
I think it's like respecting that. And it sounds like you respect the off day too. That it's
oh yeah.
like, I am off. I'm gonna take off. It's
Right.
actually something that I started to do because I have like a 9 to 5 job, doing this beautiful podcast, The Climb. That takes work. Trying to do stuff with Team Garbo, trying to write and finish a book I have going on. So really when you look at the off time of work, I have a lot of other work that I try to do, and I just
Right.
noticed that, like, what? If I'm going to go 7 days a week of doing work like things, this is going to become exhausting. This isn't going to become enjoyable. And I
Yeah.
like forced myself, because we've talked about conquering the mornings and I love doing that. But I
Yeah.
forced myself on Saturday to just play video games in the morning.
Right.
Forget about, the 2 hours in the coffee shop to write, or, getting on the desk here to get things done. but the ultimate, just like, you need to reset and absolutely do nothing. And even if it's, 5 minutes a day, 2 hours during the weekend by yourself, or maybe like on a Friday night, I think it's just super healthy, where you can enjoy some of these outside things other than you watching, the Lafayette football team. You're not anxiously thinking about your own practices.
Right.
You've taken time to take a step out and enjoy the other things that you have going on. And I think that, I'm just guessing here, is because you were able to do nice sprint intervals. You sprinted for like 59 seconds out of a minute, what it
Yeah.
sounds like. But you gave that 1 second rest, and that compounded over the season where you're not completely burnt out, and you worked out, you stayed on your routine. You brought it back to episode 4. The first thing you
Yeah.
talked about was routine and habits.
Mhm.
So that's pretty awesome. I think if you can find peace in a busy schedule like your own, I think a lot of others can too, and it does come down to effort and
Yeah.
being honest with yourself.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with everything you said. And I think like it's a good reminder that like hard work is actually peaceful. like,
Mm.
it's like you end up getting more peace because you worked hard.
Yep.
So I think that's just like my mentality all season. And honestly, like you bringing up conquering the morning again, I think like there was some mornings I'd wake up at 5, like anxious about like starting lineup or something, and I would just throw a movie on, like turn my phone on silent, like do not disturb, throw a movie on, and I would watch a movie till 7 a.m. and then get my day started.
Yep.
And I finding those little moments, even if it's 10 minutes of alone time or me time, um, super valuable and just really beneficial when when you do have to be a leader of 25, 30 people. um and yeah, so I'm really glad you brought that up, because I yeah, I'm still trying to conquer the mornings, and now it's just it looks different now that I'm out of season.
Yeah. And it's funny how you talked about balance, right? And I've mentioned it before with having empowered mindset and the climb of the mountain. I have three
Yeah.
stages. There's the build, there's the balance, and then there's the thrive. And I think once you find building blocks, right, you can go to these certain habits or certain actions that you can take. It gets you to a level where you can really find a healthy balance in life. Where Christian is talking about his healthy balance in life, but after that, you get to the thriving section. And a part of what I've been writing about and I've talked about is that being at the top of the mountain is not like finishing a Mario game. You don't get to
Right.
go home with the princess. You don't get to tell the dinosaur to screw off. That's not it. It's a constant battle to stay at that peak. And
Yeah.
I think keeping those habits, keeping the owning the mornings, keeping the peaceful time for yourself, it's proving that you're not going to break the chain like Atomic Habits, or you're a back-to-back champ of every single day you're waking up excited for the next one and knowing that you could be knocked down, but you're kind of keeping things in motion to keep you at the top, which goes beyond balance in my eyes. It's just the art of thriving, in a tough environment in that mountain that everyone climbs. So it's really cool to hear and to see it in person too. To see you thrive in your enjoyment of work. Take on a huge challenge of a new program. You're building something there. But I mean, ultimately, too, I remember when you said a few years ago why you wanted to be a head coach, for the freedom to have your own schedule that you build
Yeah.
out and take care of yourself. Well, it's like, man, you've done it. Like you're
Yeah.
doing everything you're saying too. And I think a lot of that goes to the routine and habits you've set forth. And you're just kind of, conquering your morning and the mountain that you're climbing every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I try to remind myself all the time, like this is the job I've wanted,
Yeah.
and like there's definitely going to be hard days, but like I wanted this. And I just have so much gratitude for like the opportunity, and I would much rather like this opportunity fall on my shoulders than like have to ride the coattails of someone else.
Yeah.
And like, there's not a lot of Division I coaches in this country. I mean, just volleyball alone, there's like 340. You know, I get to be one of 340 Division I volleyball coaches in the country,
Yep.
and I don't take that privilege lightly. And so I'm just like, it's such a unique job, but it's so fun. Um, and and I just get to learn every single day.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, if you could just stay hungry and be grateful, like, you'll be good.
Yeah. I mean, the last episode of The Climb, we talked with my mother about
Yeah.
gratitude, and
Mm.
she brought up how she heard how someone shared that someone wakes up every day and they're grateful for that. And I think the key word that you use is get to. Like,
Yeah.
there's a get to in everyone's life. And you get to
Yeah.
wake up, you get to be a parent, you get to be, an individual living in a society with technology rather than like 100 years ago. There's a lot of advantages in finding the positive light to go forward is I think something you're really good at, Christian. You kind of run towards positivity and the opportunity to succeed like better than many people I know.
Well, thanks. And yeah, it's definitely something I try to talk to the team about. Like, um, like, how many recruiting emails do I get? How many athletes would dream to be on this team,
Yeah.
or any Division I team right now?
Mhm.
And so you got to be grateful, because not only did you earn it, but there's a bit of luck involved in the
Yeah,
process too. And so you
absolutely.
just got to appreciate that you ended up where you are, and then just take advantage of the opportunity when you have it.
Yeah, and I think the luck is every has everything to do with it. You could work
Oh,
hard, this, that, but if you're not a certain height for you, you don't jump as high, you don't swing as
right.
fast, they're not gonna, make it there. And I, let's bring it back to Team Garbo. How lucky am I to have so many people flock to my side?
Yeah.
I know there are stories where people don't have that, and that's
Right.
really why we made something there. And really grateful there. Christian, I want to tease the audience because I think that hearing your success and your thriving story right now as a D1 head coach is inspiring. But I would love for everyone to hear where you were 10 years ago, maybe even, 15 years ago, and how, went into the world before volleyball and how
Yeah.
hard you worked to kind of get where you are. I
Yeah.
think, we could probably stop here for the day, but that is something that is truly inspiring that you weren't given anything. And that now that you're so appreciative to be D1 coach, I mean, anyone could say they appreciate being a D1 coach, but from how far you have gone and worked, gotta be honest that's a story that needs to be told.
Yeah, man. Can't wait to be back.
Awesome. Anything you want to close on? I mean, we got a lot of good nuggets here, but definitely a shout out to your successful season. Better than the last season they had there at Lafayette. You're building something. I'm a huge fan, so everyone stay tuned with Christian Squad. They'll be taking some banners down and putting them up for themselves soon.
Let's go. Awesome. Thanks for having me, AJ.
All right, buddy. As always, love you, man, and
All right. Love
appreciate
you
you
too.
coming on.
All right. Thanks. See ya.